Hello, and welcome back. Northstar here with another episode of my Hearts Iron 4 Gotterdammerung Let's Play. I've done a few things off camera. Among them, set some more divisions, or at least this one. I can't remember. This I just did. I can't remember if the others two templates that use more artillery and have, in the case of this upgrade, also have ranger companies. Rangers are an expensive unit, but they don't occupy any combat with, and they improve the ratio of manpower and HP to and width to attack in a division. So by pushing self attack, it's similar to adding a little bit of artillery. Sweet spot is often around 9 infantry, 2 artillery for actual artillery, though I do have some heavy infantry brigades, which are even more artillery centric, but they're smaller, so I can fit more of them in a front, making up for their lower organization, and also that gets me relatively more. They do have ranger companies, so they have a lot of support companies, which gives very high performance, but not super cost effective. But for when on the defense and not attacking, it's getting the most out of my limited manpower. I have strong industry. May not seem quite like that for my factory count, but I have a lot of puppets carved out of my own territory that have a lot of my industry, and they do lend me some stuff like support equipment. And I will eventually reintegrate them, probably starting with Saxony, because they won't get their nationalism path, and the extra manpower comes with it. And they have a lot of core manpower, the most of almost any of my puppets, I think. So this will eventually be annexed. I'll need to, of course, be prepared to defend their border. With the Czechs, I do have in my build queue some forts now. It'll be a while. I'll need the integrate the Volkscommissariat focus, which won't be for quite some time. But if this war just keeps dragging on, I'll eventually be integrating them and prepared to defend, pushing some divisions into that border area. But then I'll have women in the military, full women's rights equality, which Communist Germany gets, and that will get me the ability to have more divisions, and I'll be prepared to defend against any Czech attacks there. If I keep them as a puppet, I'm missing out obviously on the most efficient use of their factories. If I turn my Volkscommissariat, I get a lot of the factories, but then they only get half the manpower. Recoring is obviously the way to go in the long run. The other puppet I'm likely to eventually reintegrate is the Bavarian Soviet Republic, because it's not really in a place where they're likely to be attacked. It's existed for a while. It's just finishing its industry trade now. It's not like, say, the People's Republic of Hesse, which has less focused trade progress, or Baden, or some of these other newer ones. Kashubia, Mecklenburg, these are all areas that would have to defend, type divisions that could be used to attack, or manpower that could be put into defensive divisions to attack. Different division types to attack and defend. And I may need to, even if I don't reintegrate them, I do probably want to bring them into war eventually, because one way to deal with the Czechs is to attack the Kingdom of Bavaria, but they'll probably eventually train a second division, which they'll probably stick somewhere on this border. With only one area I can move into unopposed, the quickest way to make sure I can quickly sweep through is to attack from the lower Bavaria here, through Regensburg, and try and quickly rush divisions into southern Sudetenland before the Czechs can get organized divisions there. They may rush a division or two, and I may, when I actually do that, want to show up with some light or even medium tank destroyers for a bit of hard attack, because I may still have to attack mostly deorganized divisions, and I can't actually start damaging them until I damage the forts a little, which hard attack correlates with damage to forts. Soft attack does not. I could also do super heavy howitzers, but they're very expensive and they will absolutely bloody eradicate the industry in the area as well. I suppose maybe I should do it just to make sure the attack succeeds. So yeah, I have the tech or almost the tech for this. It's just a matter of getting the manpower, getting a little more industry, and by that point I'll probably be turning the Civ to mill, sweeping through here. However, I can probably sweep up the Benelux very quickly, which will end this problem with the naval rating, because the only place that, well, I say that, but then actually Norway will probably join the EU, and Denmark, and from the Nordics they'll just raid here as well. But I'll eventually be cleaning up the Benelux, and then it'll just be a matter of capitulating Poland to make the whole faction surrender, which will allow me to puppet all the EU, turn it all communist, puppet or turn communist, and the Soviets have been off more than they can chew. I just realized they have a war goal on Turkey, yes, and Great Britain is guaranteeing, which means when they attack Turkey, which probably won't be too long, Great Britain will declare war on them, or it'll be considered a defensive war. Austria also is considered a Democrat major because they started their own faction, so they may guarantee some of these nations that the Soviets will declare on Iran, Afghanistan, Turkey. So they'll probably also go to war with the Soviets. They might pull in the U.S. into a faction because the United States, with their limited intervention, will join factions if a Democratic major ends up in a defensive war, not an offensive war, which is why they didn't join the EU. But if Austria guarantees nation, this could pull the Americans. So with the Americans and the British both going to war with the Soviets, they'll get just stomped. And if I push into Poland, victory is within reach. I know I was really starting to think I was going to lose this war, but there's actually a path to victory. I've got to just bear with it. And if the Austrians go to war with the Soviets, they will likely allow military access, and I can just strategically redeploy divisions through there, shore up the borders with Romania, shore up the borders with Greece in case because they're not going to stay neutral. They're flipping communist, and eventually they'll join one side or the other. They'll either declare war on Italy or they'll declare war on Turkey, which will have joined my faction. So they'll either join the Soviet faction or mine, depending on which of their. Hold on, I'll show. They locked into this path. If they toe the Stalinist line, they'll join the Soviet faction. If they prepare for the great anti-fascist war, they'll declare on Italy and join my faction. They'll also get a diplomatic penalty with the Soviets that way, which will hope even more guarantee they'll go join the Balkan Federation. So Greece may or may not actually be a threat. Turkey is almost certainly an ally once the Soviets declare on them. The British will send troops to help shore up the Turkish defenses. They should be able to push through. The Straits of Gibraltar have still not yet been captured by the Italians, and as long as they can hold out just a little bit longer, if Sweden falls too soon, that will prevent the British from being able to send troops through the Straits. But Italy is in the Soviet faction too, so they actually might get military access land troops to Casablanca and help retake them, as might the Americans. And if Turkey, Iran can hold and then eventually push, the Soviets are doomed. There's no question the Soviets are eventually doomed. I should be able to shore up the Balkan Federation's defenses, win this war, and then the major threat will become the U.S. might end up in a faction with Austria. If they remain that faction after the Soviets are defeated, then they will eventually go into an offensive war against me through the Austrian focus tree, and I'll have to defend against the United States. But by that point, with the Soviets and the EU taken down, I should have essentially hegemony over all of Europe, and I'll have to be defending against the Americans at that point. And I may have the British on my side in that, because the British have a focus to attack the United States and to attack the Soviets, which if by that point the Soviets Unite the Anglosphere, attack the United States, preempt the ideological threat, attack the Soviets. If the Soviets are a supervised state under the Americans, by that point, if they get enough war score and the original tag goes to them, then they will attack the faction directly. If not, they'll attack indirectly through puppets. If not, they'll attack directly. So eventually I'll have the British Navy to help me prevent the US from hopefully being too successful in doing a Normandy type situation. That said, I'll definitely need to do what I can to put divisions along the coast, and it's going to be a major threat for a while. And then this war may go late enough that nukes get involved. I could really struggle against the Americans, but I have a fighting chance against them. Probably at least as much as in this war, and probably more. So let's get going. Let's see. I am defending here. They just keep attacking here. I put Schultz because he is the second best guy to lead these divisions after Lenski. And Lenski's just got too many divisions he's currently in charge of. He's an expert in both tanks and motorized infantry. And he's got all the really critical areas where I'm using motorized or tanks. Looks like 20, all of these divisions, the only place that I could maybe consider reassigning is here on the Italian front. And I would say that that's more critical than here, where Schultz is doing a fine job of holding off Wilhelmus Best. He's got 2 skill levels and this guy over him, and this guy's wounded. With the completion of road processing, I thought before I would do something to upgrade Opal. It's gonna take a sec for the tungsten to recalculate. Might not happen before midnight. But they should be growing by the time Field Hospital 3 is done, which I probably want to get around to adding field hospitals in my divisions. Yes, they're very expensive, but especially now that the devs rebalanced field hospitals, so they add HP to all battalions, so they don't hurt the HP to manpower ratio of larger divisions at all. In fact, they help it, and even moderate to size small ones, they don't hurt it very much. With the trickleback, basically it adds expense, but it'll save me a bunch of manpower in areas where I just keep suffering attacks. I'm on the defensive. I wouldn't probably use them necessarily to attack too much, but where I'm mostly on, well, I mean, I would want them on my best divisions, but the ideal use case for them is like tanks motorized, they're defending, because the fact they might hurt the organization a little more is not as much of an issue in defense, where it's more, if you're being attacked, the enemy is going to be at work cycling you, and it's much more a matter of killing them quickly, soft attack. And the field hospitals don't really hurt that, at least. Whereas the organization is more important when attacking. Even important in work cycling, because organization regains falls off as the division gets closer to its max or percentage-wise. It might not update the tungsten until midnight. I need to be wary of that. Probably not even getting the oil I'm buying. Oh, it's the French falling short on the rubber yet again. Irritatingly. I could buy a little Hungarian oil, though. The Hungarians will eventually join the EU if this goes on. Or I could do it from India, which will end up in the British sphere, and they'll be on my side probably, unless they attack the Americans too early, get raffle stomped by America, and then just become an American puppet. That's entirely a possibility. Alright. Number of defense fights has fallen off a bit. Cool. These guys weren't fully reordered because they just finished getting their new men equipment in. I forget if they had to do a little retrain or little exercises. I think they might have, which is why they're not entrenched at all either. I was trying to send them here. And then I was going to pull the tanks here, because there is actually enemy casts, and forests provide protection for casts, against casts. And tank divisions are more vulnerable to the casts because of their HP to manpower ratio than infantry. Plus, these infantry have our anti-air and the tanks don't. So, want to get the tanks beneath the cover of the trees. Swap these. Secret War. Yet another Soviet themed thing. Alright. Tungsten is being annoying. Forget, I think Spain, People's Republic of Spain should have a little. Yes. I'll just buy from them for 1 day. And I'll buy some rubber from India. Cool. And Stasi, definitely not. This is kind of, I wish if you were going Spartacusly, it would name it something else. Maybe not have it have the stability penalty to represent it's not as authoritarian as historical Stasi. It does make sense with the proletarian dictatorship path, but there really should be separate intel sub-branches for Spartacus League and dictatorship. But this is a much more wholesome, expands social welfare, civil liberties, embrace democratic institutions, women's rights, and equality. And that focus will make a big difference because it'll give me the manpower I need. Women being employed in the factories and sometimes in the military and being treated as equals, not like most nations, women in the workforce, where they're begrudgingly allowed in, but they're not treated with respect. Unfortunately, the French keep shuffling divisions. I don't know where they're going. They keep shuffling across the Baltic. I think they're probably trying to reinforce here. I see more and more divisions here. German Finland, which I'm not likely to call into the war, at least not for a long time. There's still not nearly enough divisions to prevent them from just being capitulated by the Soviets and Estonia Finnish troops. I have a lot of intel from, I was trying to figure out, looks like it's from allies, not that much on them, but on the Poles in particular. There must be French spies, and I'm getting some of the intelligence from them. Or maybe it's Balkan spies, I don't know. My own ones are going to have to be on counter-intel for a while to catch all the spies hanging out in Berlin. Although I would like to do some espionage in Warsaw. Or Poznan. Oh yeah, I did want to show more aircraft. You notice my air experience now. I just keep creating aircraft variants. Some of them I may never use, but when I get an idea for one, I'm sitting at the air XP cap so it goes to waste otherwise. And some of these I may, like this is just a very lowest cost possible scout plane. Whereas the small airframes I've attached recon cameras to are cheaper and more cost effective in some ways. They go up to an air wing size 100, which is overkill. Because there's more planes, there's more to get detected. It'll actually suffer higher losses. Theoretically, when sticking those in a contentious air zone, probably because even though these are slower and easier to shoot down. And definitely consume more fuel. But, of course, these can fire back. They can bite back some with their air attack. And they also have some bomb locks, so they can switch them to CAS in an air zone once I'm ready to attack and I'm over the intel cap. But I also have, let's see, the non-strategic version of this somewhere. Here we go. That doesn't use as much aluminum. The only time that'd be relevant is if France fell, probably. I was desperate for intel and didn't care if they suffered higher losses. I just need, these are even cheaper than the small airframes. France fell, say, to the Americans. They could someday be useful. And then I have a version that has defense turrets, lots of them. And a version that's longer ranged and thus has fewer defense turrets, but still defense turrets. Extra fuel tanks for recon further out than any 1395. That's further than I could get probably with this, unless, just to check. Yeah, even with extra fuel tanks and so for real long range recon, the longer range and with guns are for obviously a situation where I'm more comfortably ahead than the more desperate unarmed scout planes. They can get shot down, although the enemy has if there's only like 10 aircraft in air zone, they're not going to detect them most of the time. Their best defense is simply going unnoticed and not attracting the enemy to put a ton of air superiority in the zone. This guy's defending here. I will need to change that Panzer template soon. It needs anti-air. It really does. My tanks are suffering. I found a semi-decent template. My puppets have been making. They almost all have this template. It's got a little more reliance on motorized infantry. Hold on, I'll show what it looks like. It's got one more light tank, which I guess with the number of other things, but it's got more motorized. I guess that much motorized probably would want another light tank. It's got the same support companies, but it's also got an anti-tank support company. So compared to my motorized, there's that. It basically represents a higher reliance on anti-tank guns and infantry anti-tank capabilities to deal with enemy tanks, and I'd say it's a little more future-proof than my current tank divisions, although eventually I plan to upgrade them past that. Just haven't been doing it with these divisions in danger constantly. It hasn't really struck me as a good idea, and many of them are inching their way up to higher experience levels, which I think is probably more important than some of the changes, the templates I can make. I could have enlarged them, but also short on fuel and other fun stuff. Oh yeah, I just completed another synthetic refinery. This should complete tomorrow. Third engine. And then I'm starting on these land forts so I can pull divisions from this border without any real risk, or the Czechs deciding that's a great time to attack, which is what I'm doing because it'll damage infrastructure, and I'm building a synthetic refinery there. Honestly, I probably should pull these guys soon too and put a bunch of divisions here. In fact, I'm gonna well, I remember them. I was gonna rotate them in to this border soon. Yeah, I should have put them on this border sooner. This is just a standard infantry brigade. Oh my. Little These guys to yellow. These guys to gray. These to green. There's no reason not to have a march stand. I think 5 divisions would be plenty. Anyone that's gray. We got more important places for them to be. I need them all to get over here. And send for Saarbrücken for now to do a little bit of retraining. I believe the training infantry ones don't try and take support equipment or the newer rifles or whatnot, but I'm trying to remember exactly what I did with the takes like a day for them to actually get the equipment. They're a lower priority anyhow. These guys need to get to heavier infantry. Let's see. Yeah, I don't try and actually give them artillery or anything. Just have them train up with older junk. Remember to upgrade them. That's not terrible to, yeah. Have them, sit in Saarbrücken and train up for a while, then switch to more modern equipment. No, I'm being really dumb. I don't have the time for that. The reason I have this is for ones that are actually in the training queue, where some of them I had artillery enabled earlier. I don't want this last bit of artillery need filling in before expanding divisions are actually already in the field. But yeah, these guys are gonna get here, train up as quick as they can, be stuck in Metz and places like that. Julius Wiedermann's gonna actually start getting used to attack stuff very soon. He's got real potential. He needs experience, and I don't have anyone better who isn't already a 3rd division cap, except for I could give one more division here. let's see. Switching someone to off to yellow so they can entrench more. Are they fully entrenched? Probably, but they actually need to switch to even heavier infantry. These guys. They're being upgraded to more artillery. But ones who aren't can stay under this guy and start entrenching more, because higher entrenchment cap under Henrique. Someday I'll probably, when he's almost level 8, make him chief of the army, and then I'll become a genius entrenchment chief. Geniuses, of course, give him army experience, and entrenchment chiefs allow more max entrenchment, which should be important for defending the Atlantic Wall someday. It's not going to be for a very long time, since that costs political power I just don't have. I need it for conscription laws, economy laws, much more desperately. Four divisions. Shouldn't it be 2 and 2? Well, there's too many divisions stuck here. Yeah. Take these guys who are nowhere near leveling up from this continuous combat. Stick them here, since this area seems to get attacked a lot. Go that far strategically, and then the rest move. They might just be able to strategically. Yep, there we go. Battle's over. Cool. Oh, new battle. Oh well. If I have enough divisions stacked here, I don't think the Soviets will keep trying to org cycle that. I wish you could build forts in Allies' territory, not only that of puppets, because I would definitely build forts in the server line so that it would suffer less losses and I could worry about other things than constantly making sure the Soviets don't cross the river. Whatever, the Soviets get raffle stomped by the Brits and Americans soon enough, and I won't have to worry about them at all. It'll be a race for war score, though, to make sure that the Americans don't get too much territory. Carving up the Soviet Union, because everything they get I'll just have to reconquer when the Americans attack me next. This battle just keeps going. Never gonna get there at this rate. Do that. They didn't have any entrenchment anyhow. Actually, that's why they were marching. And that will enable them to get there. Send these guys here. There we go. Rubber processing. With that, I have an extremely healthy amount of rubber. I'm definitely not buying Indian rubber. 3 rubber. No, not even the French. Can be at -1. I'm still sitting at whatever should be neutral tungsten. I guess the Spanish needed the factories. Still. Oh, well, yeah, I guess they took advantage of the rotation divisions to attack. Not that it'll do much good. That does risk damaging the infrastructure. Put the little lower priority because damaged infrastructure slows. Anyhow, it's past time. Where is it? Destroyer tech. Won't be. I'll be getting some more some more trade points for my rating and my O to improve cruisers, but not destroyers for quite a while. So it's past time I lock in everything I've gone. I haven't actually upgraded the 36 destroyer designs. Would have cost Navy XP, and instead just start 1940 destroyer hulls. These are more reliable. The cost may not seem to justify the improved stats, but it is a little bit faster at base, even without a better engine, if I remember. And it's longer ranged, but requires a little more manpower. The real reason is for 1940 destroyer hulls is very much one of reduced chance of suffering crits. Crits will, of course, cause a destroyer very often to sink in one hit because they have so little health. And they do have a little more health at the 1940 level. The most devastating being a crit from a torpedo, even though destroyers are hard to hit with torpedoes. It's the point where my light cruisers, well, actually, even if they're fighting destroyers, emphasize torpedoes, even though terrible chance to hit a destroyer. When you do hit, very likely torpedoes have higher crit chance, and there's very good odds of just blowing this destroyer up in one hit. Whereas if light guns, I'll damage destroyers, but they'll go back to port and repair and come back again and again. If I'm trying to deal with any surface raiders here, and I think it's mostly subs doing the raiding in the eastern North Sea, I'll want to be using torpedoes. And subs, well, subs don't really care about torpedoes or light guns. They just care about depth charges, so. Anyhow, and of course, with a proper admiral who's got Lancer, torpedoes can get right past enemy screen ships and hit enemy capital ships, even when they have full screening. 1 in 10 odds, whenever a torpedo is fired, it can do that with a Lancer admiral, which is very good, actually. A lot of torpedoes get fired in a prolonged naval battle. Pretty good chance of just dealing a massive crit, too. What EA, really? Short, a little on rubber. I can only assume this means the rounding isn't quite working in my favor in production. Oh, probably switch to buying French rubber again soon-ish. Yeah, it doesn't use their factories nearly as well as me, or I'd do it. Buying oil, even inefficiently, for me, what I can get by land. Oh, there's some Romanian oil for purchase. It's a little more efficient than the Indian. Provided they can actually hold out against the... You know what? Why not both, actually? I need all the oil I can get. with a little more manpower, I could train some more motorized divisions. I have the trucks. I have the infantry equipment. I'll have the artillery before long. Got enough reinforcements that I'm actually out of artillery right now. Once I get artillery 3, I'll be putting more factors in artillery production. Likely taking them off of MP38 production, which actually, I don't know why it's saying I'm at shortage. I have plenty of those. It's probably reinforcements where the stuff just hasn't gotten distributed yet, and I need more support equipment too. No matter what I'm getting from puppets, I'll definitely need more support equipment. This is about modernizing, for upgrades, modernizing flak. Yeah. The R196E. Yeah. It's got one light machine gun to give it a little more air defense. When dealing with enemy fighters out at sea, they attack. If I was going more air defense, then I would have used that Focke-Wulf 190 template, like base this off of that, and I would have been able to get armor plates instead, but kind of more concerned with having the range and keeping the costs low on these. When I complete another factory, which is currently in production, I'll start on the basic AR-196s, which the idea is to mix them into an air wing. Here and there, there'll be a lot fewer from produced because they start production sooner, later. Although, shoot, I probably need to factor in support equipment. I am working on a military factory in Wittenberg already. So yeah, more support equipment production. I've used all my artillery stockpiles. I'm not selling anymore except anti-air, this obsolete anti-air guns, which no one will probably ever buy that. Some surplus convoys and trains. Which I may even need to stop selling the trains if no one buys it eventually, soonish. It's not as much of a surplus as I'd like if I keep expanding my army. Oh yeah, the Italians all out of manpower, so they won't be able to replace losses until they increase conscription. Are they at... Yeah, they're at their extensive conscription number, so until they go service by requirement, they may actually start to get worn down and actually lose. The Balkans keep grinding them. The Balkan Federation, meanwhile, has 1 million manpower in reserve. They're not going anywhere. But even the losses they've suffered, so yeah, they've suffered 500,000 in this entire war. Less. I don't like having these guys sit here undersupplied. Definitely not going to be able to do that push anytime soon. I think if they go here, it'll help a little. Result in more, the supply situation got worse, not better. What a I may put him here. Rotate him down here eventually. Just a couple divisions. Zelensky can lead the fight, but also they end up in the reserves, at least motorized reinforcing quicker once some of the infantry organize out. Deorganize. Fun. Just waiting for something to change. Able to progress towards women's rights and equality soon, once this is done. Save up political power and get my intel chief. But, political benefits and manpower in the military from that will also be helpful beyond the role playing that it's good to have. I really think it's a travesty how long women suffered not being at all considered equal under the law, and they really still aren't, even to this day, paid the same for the same work, which is a shame. A theoretical history with Germany went communist, they definitely would have guaranteed full equal pay for equal work. And yes, people that get paid in communist systems, most jobs still paid wages. Just either they were workers' cooperatives or state-owned industries. And wages are much higher relative to the wealth of the country and productivity of the workers than in similarly undeveloped countries. Because communism never happened anywhere that was wealthy. That was already wealthy. It's not that they were poor because they're communists, it's they were poor and then they therefore became communist. Current here is correct about that history has shown that's how it usually ends up. Even Germany going communist before World War II or in that era would have been a bit of a stretch of the imagination, even though they were less developed than, say, France or England. Industrially powerful, but in many ways less accumulated wealth. It's not enough to just have a bunch of factories in the country. It takes time for that to translate into, bigger houses, more roads, more hospitals, schools. Income and wealth aren't the same thing, I'm sure you're all aware. People are comfortable enough they don't challenge the system, even if they could do better under a different system. People who are comfortable usually don't revolt. So how am I using enough fuel? I'm actually losing it. like buying the Austrian oil because they'll eventually attack me, but I need it. The places I can reach by land, they have the most. And they will help me against the Soviets, thankfully. Fun. This should result in Latvia joining my faction, just based on the things that contribute to AI decisions. If they get attacked by a nation, there's already someone at war with that nation, they generally join the faction that's already at war with them. Which means, yeah, I'll soon have full intel on the Latvians, and then they'll become a government exile, but they have a focus that they're in a faction they capitulate, where they get some factories off map. So, cool. Yep. There we go. Now my faction. They'll lose the Soviets, but I'm also doing this, which gives them off-map factories, though I don't know if this will cancel if they capitulate while it's going on. They get tech sharing. But where is it? Prepare for the inevitable. Once they capitulate, we'll get 4 more off-map factories. That's in addition to these 4. So I'll have at least 8 factories, and even if they can't get the stockpile of equipment they build to the rest of my faction, once their homeland is liberated, they'll have a bunch of equipment that they've been building up that they can start training a bunch of divisions as soon as they have the manpower for it, or can lease it to the faction. Useful eventually. Someday, maybe. They should probably stay in the faction after the war, too. Which means I'll have a non-aligned Latvia in the faction. Which, okay, at least it's not Lithuania with a literal democratic dictator. I kid you not. I mean, well, actually, he's non-aligned, but most support is for democratic. But at least it's not this guy. He's a dictator. I'll be able to put a communist puppet regime in charge of Lithuania after the Poles and Dutch both capitulate. If I capitulate the country, it'd be cheaper to do that, though, than if I just capitulate the majors. It won't be long before the Soviets invade a few other countries. And they'll also get added to my faction. Oh yeah, I turned these to heavy motorized division. I think I did that off camera, so I didn't mention it. Need extra artillery for any kind of push I'm going to do here. I mean, I can probably do it without, but to reduce my losses. These guys will go to Metz, and I should end up with 3 motorized divisions and 3 of my best infantry divisions all attacking. And these guys will probably just sit in Metz to defend and prevent the enemy from deciding it's a good idea to attack Metz. I've seen them do it, even though there's a level 10 fort. And it's a hill area to boot. Probably because it's a victory point. But these guys will help discourage attacks and quickly murder anyone who does try to attack, because they'll have lots of artillery once they're fully retrained. And these guys like really under strength in terms of manpower, so they are just emergency reserve to shove here or here or something if the France start to fall. I have them here because Saarbrücken is where the rails cross. So it's either that or leave them in Strasbourg. But this is giving me a little trade influence with the French because it's on my side of the border with them. You can see more troops on shared border. hoping to guarantee that I don't get outcompeted for rubber when I buy it from them. Alright. I won't have a rubber shortage for much longer. I'm building enough synthetic refineries to meet my current rubber demand. Working on eventually cutting my reliance on Siam even. Since there's ways I could lose the land rat there eventually. And besides, I need every bit of fuel I can get, even the bits from synthetic refineries. Something must have just completed. Probably didn't watch and got some overflow, but whatever. Looks like Franken is no longer under attack, so boom, boom. I need those forts. Discourage more attacks and reduce my losses if they occur. Trying to discourage attacks, of course, because I'm trying to minimize my casualties. To put off running out of manpower and as long as I can. So I can get inserts of quality. That's going to take 1, 2, 3. Oh, only 105 days after this. Won't be too much longer. But it takes time for those, for that extra manpower to mobilize, so, or woman power rather. Let's see. 18th and 19th motorized are just sitting in reserve. They have almost no organization. There we go. 18th and 19th. And they're burning fuel even in the reserves because the way the game calculates that. So I'm going to have them withdraw this way. Take 10 hours, and then someone will be able to move here. They also can't reorganize while they're in the reserves. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have issues with divisions trying to push in there if I... Boom. To divide up the line again. Prevent divisions deciding they'd rather be elsewhere. Might actually have enough divisions gather around here to eventually push in Balta. If the AI stockpiles some infantry and attacks along with me. 3 isn't quite enough, but if there's like 5 or 6 infantry piled up here. Taking Balta Tiraspol, this is the provincial capital area. Taking this victory point will give me control of the factories and manpower and such. Really? No spare manpower here? I guess they recruited preferentially from the border areas. Or conscripted. Still, factories. 9 battles. I feel like there's something I'm missing. Are there really that many? And no, they're all in the Romanian area. Looks like. And the Italians continue. got these guys to provide air superiority, and they even sometimes shoot down these aircraft they're passing through. For the combat bonuses, air superiority, and remember the enemy fighters by a lot here. Still won't let me replace this ace. This was one that was led by the guy. Well, I think the thing to do is to split this air wing then. I can't do anything about that unless I wanted to span the air wing. That will eventually add more fighters and dilute the air experience. At least I can put an ace on these guys. That'll split these guys too. Ace effect will be doubled. So this guy will be just as effective in charge of 50 as he was in charge of 100. And give me more flexibility later. As well as making me considered to be more in the negative on fighters, so I might even get lend-lease some by allies if they have any surplus fighters of their own, which they probably don't. Also, veteran air instructor spirits, so even when they get diluted out with new pilots, they do fairly well in terms of gaining experience fast, and they lose it to casualties. But yeah. Their engine is a bit shorter in tungsten. Ideally needs to buy some. They don't have any surplus civ factories though, so, or else it would have started on that military factory. There's no room to build more. They're out of focus to have build slots. Just have to wait till they increase their trade industry tech. Should be working on that right now, probably. 51 days, and then I'll be able to queue up another civ. Fun. New war participant. The Soviet Socialist Republic is called Paraguay as our enemy. Socialist Portugal, Italy, and Finland joined. France is called Latvia. I was already at war with Lithuania. And I don't think this was Austria getting pulled in or something. Why does Iran like me so much? They don't, why are they shown in green before? Must be on friendly terms with someone. Turkey. It's bad Turkey can't actually elect a communist government. Even when the election event happens, it doesn't let them flip. Yep, Iran will get attacked by the Soviets soon. You can see they got a war goal on them. Afghanistan. But, Austria will probably try and guarantee one of them because they're a democratic major. And these are just ram-null countries getting attacked. And then once they're in a mutual war, they should give me military access, and I can actually strategically redeploy divisions all the way to Iran if I have the divisions to spare. Which is one more reason for the forts, so I can pull divisions from defending. Prioritizing this because I have 5 divisions here. So, That's a lot that are tied up not doing other things. I'm also working Bitburg in this. 3 divisions in 2. That's not nothing. I don't have any forts there like I do here, so it's fairly cheap to add a couple levels of forts. I do have 1 here now, looks like. Well, forts are pretty useless because they get damaged quickly, but level 2 would be a consistent level 1 bonus in a fight. Yeah, Latvia is going to suffer naval invasion. Nothing I can do about that. Trying to cross the Baltic is suicide. For once, the Italians are suffering naval raids from French subs. Ooh. I already stationed guys like this in case of Italian naval invasion across the Adriatic here. So I was just checking how long this video's been going on. See if it's getting time to cut it. Not quite yet. Oop. Ace Pout promoted. Nice. Ludwig Rice, known to the call sign Red Baron. Like the historical Red Baron, except he probably is oil level 1 ace. Yeah, he is. Whereas like historical one probably would have been level 2 or 3. Most of the most famous aces would have been level 2 or 3 aces in the game. Level 1 represents some of the lesser known ones. Maybe less skilled a little bit, but still very impressive pilots. Survived a lot of sorties and gotten very good from all that combat experience. Good at their job. Just so I don't forget it. Probably the cannon fighters I was doing, and because even though they cost more, they had a little more air attack, and they get shot down easier. So not very cost effective unless fuel is an absolute limiting factor. Which it's gonna, I think, get a little easier now that I have all these synthetic refineries, and there probably are some decisions like Iran and Turkey to develop their oil fields more, and they might do it once they're a faction. Plus, it won't be too long before I can start capturing some Soviet oil fields in this area from the Iranian front, maybe. I'm lucky. The Caucasus oil fields driven from the south. And in terms of industrial efficiency, these fighters, which have only heavy and light machine guns, are more cost effective. So the next factory gets freed up isn't doing support equipment, artillery, infantry. We'll go on that. Control skies is critical. Fighters may not be super cost effective in themselves producing. If you end up heavily outnumbered in the skies, it's a disaster. I don't necessarily need total dominance of the skies. I just need to keep from ending up in a situation where I'm horribly outnumbered. My fighters are getting attacked 3 to 1, which at equal detection, that's the worst they can get. Because after that, you can't get attacked by more than 3 times the number of enemy fighters. Here, close to actually reaching that kind of ratio as an enemy. There's enemies to control this in this area. Who's providing air support here? It's definitely not my guys. No, it's Italians doing it. In fact, these guys are losing breakthrough to enemy air superiority. I don't have the air fighters to contest the Western Balkans. Really? Not a, I could pull some from here, but it would just expose me to even more fighter losses without... It's not very cost effective, I don't think. Except this battle's probably costing the Balkans a ton of... And they're actually... The battle's green. Shoot, I hate doing this, but... Some people there, they need to be my best fighter. Or they'll get massacred. This air wing is like 73 effectively. Well, it's not that much better than the cheaper fighters. Yeah, I probably don't risk those aircraft then. Experienced pilots, though. Well, no, they just get murdered. But these guys will train up if they're in an area. Yeah, I'll split this air wing and stick. These are outdated aircraft. Stick these guys. Don't need it. Try and expand the air wing at high priority. Get one of my zillion level 1 aces and get redeployed to the Western Balkans, to the air base in Serbia. Try and at least slightly reduce this disparity and start. I mean, I'll need to send more fighters soon. Start with that. I don't like how low these are on... I'm not actually going to stand there. I'm just going to do that so... Oh, no, I was hoping it would bring it to the top of the cube. Actually, it goes to the bottom, doesn't it? It's even worse. Oh well. I don't know if this... Fun. At least they're both on the bottom now, together. So when I look at one... Oh, somehow it... I never understand the ordering of the divisions. Oh well. I was hoping they could get them next to each other so we could... At a glance see the word levels in both on that list. Of course, now they stop attacking right after I send reinforcements. Whatever. If I do attack here, I'd probably want to attack from 2 provinces for more combat width. I would like to stop these constant attacks in this province. Huh. The Balkan Federation stuck some tanks here. They actually are producing some light tanks. Let's see. Where is it? Light tanks. Voila. It's not a terrible design. this would be it has more soft attack than my own. Probably close support gun, light tanks. They need more factories on it, clearly. No, you can't join the war. Negative. Poles would just march right in. Can't defend this much frontage right now. Someday. Well, after I've taken Poznan, I'm ready to push to this river. Take that fort. Add more forts on the river line there. I know it's slow moving warfare and expensive, but it's what I can do with my limited manpower. So we can avoid this kind of grinding warfare. You don't have to do it on Grand Battle Plan, but Grand Battle Plan enables this kind of warfare in Industries Week, where if you get stuck in a situation like this on mobile warfare, you're just screwed. Your whole front will fold. Because I wouldn't be able to, I'd just get ground down. I'd already be in negative manpower by now without entrenchment as high as it is. I'd be doing even better if not for the fact these divisions can't entrench due to spies. Which is why I'm forming my intelligence agency. Agency created. Voila. And with that, I'll eventually need the Red Orchestra for extra operative slots. It's time for civil liberties. This will give me more stability and factory production thus, but this will give me political power, which I need for all kinds of things. Most importantly, expanding conscription. The cost of it is my puppets slowly gain autonomy under it. There is a misconception among our comrades that in order for the state to function efficiently and securely, it must coerce every individual into conformity. But this runs counter objectives of socialism. Indeed, only through the protection of civil liberties will the people be truly loyal to the state and to each other. Since socialism is fundamentally about communism, is fundamentally about binding together. I mean, communists said this. Socialism is a system, communists are the, anyways, it's fun binding together to, you know, uplift other workers and not let a handful of people in the factories and the mines and everything crush everyone under their boots, the billionaire class, in short. I think that's become more obvious now that the Cold War is over and the contradictions of U.S. capitalism become so much more severe than they ever were in the Cold War. Because the ruling class knew if they made things this bad when the Cold War was gone, people would become disloyal and aid the Soviets, even within the U.S. So they waited till they crushed their only real threat to American hegemony, and then now things are just going to get worse. As bad as things are, they're going to get 100 times worse. Because there's no serious... China isn't nearly half the threat to the United States that the Soviet Union was. And Russia is not an ideological threat at all anymore. I mean, they may be a geopolitical contender, but they're a capitalist nation just the same as the U.S. Now, Putin is an authoritarian capitalist bastard. That being said, you'll sometimes hear some socialists say they want to see him do well, and not because they like him, but because they want to see the U.S. fail to completely dominate the world, so that there's space for countries that are neither the U.S. nor Russia to go socialist with, and then play the two against each other to prevent from being invaded. I'm not sure it would ever work out that way, but that is the reason some socialists will soft pedal on Russia and point out how some things are being propagandized and exaggerated to play up the threat of the Russians and such. It's because you need a multipolar world for, like, if Cuba is ever going to get the embargo on it lifted, or little African countries like Burkina Faso are going to go socialist and not get invaded by the United States for doing so. History's shown the only revolutions that ever happen will happen in small, weak, poor countries usually. Sometimes big, weak, poor countries like Russia, when it was getting crushed in World War I and was much weaker than normal. But revolutions don't happen in countries that are strong, because then the army will crush a revolt, or that are rich, because then people just get just enough luxuries to keep them from revolting. They happen in countries that are both poor and weak, which usually means small countries that can easily be bullied if there isn't multiple great powers to play off against each other. That's what's going on there. Some socialists are also what's known as accelerationists. They want things to get worse, with like Putin being even worse than US-aligned capitalists. They want things to get worse all around the world, so there'll be socialist revolutions. They figure if things are bad enough that people will rebel. There is a huge ideological divide within socialism between the accelerationists and non-accelerationists. People argue you're only going to make people suffer, and people are going to rightfully recognize that you were trying to make things worse and hate you for it, so that it'll backfire if you try and do that. I am not an accelerationist, though I consider myself a democratic socialist. Accelerationists usually aren't democratic socialists. They're communists. They're people who believe in a vanguard party and all that. Democratic socialists believe in maintain democratic institutions, like is literally a focus here for the People's Republic of Germany. Multi-party system, even if you want the ruling party to be communist, you allow the capitalist parties to exist as a opposition within the system, but without allowing, foreign donors to fund them, which the U.S. does. Capitalist parties around the world, so you do have to monitor them and sometimes arrest the leaders of the parties if they're taking foreign donations, because political influence operations like that are a way of undermining democracy. Even when the U.S. claims it's trying to build it, countries know it's just trying to build an empire. By U.S., I mean the U.S. government. I'm an American, but I do not identify with what the CIA does as being the will of me or any other American. It's the will of the ruling elites, what the CIA does. Can almost be considered not even really Americans. They do not have anything in common with almost anyone else, and they will gladly flee to New Zealand if things get bad enough in the U.S. with all their money. Like if there's climate change or a nuclear war is coming, or the U.S. is going to have a socialist revolution, expect like Jeff Bezos to be jetting off to New Zealand. He has no loyalty to the country. He only has loyalty to his own pocketbook, and he lives an entirely different life than any other American, to the point he can almost not be considered one. Billionaires enjoy a level of mobility between countries that ordinary people couldn't dream of. I would like to get out of the U.S. I would very much like to move to Western Europe, where things are better with social democracy, and socialist parties aren't so heavily suppressed. And I could actually find a democratic socialist party in like France or something, and there are communist parties even in France, and they're allowed to exist, so they're definitely democratic socialist ones. And organize with them, and not that I can do much organizing with long COVID, but do what I can. Sometimes show up at events, rallies, whatever, and keep things from getting worse in Western Europe. Keep austerity and neoliberalism from destroying social democracy, and try and explain to people why a transition all the way to socialism is necessary, because social democracy is doomed no matter how hard we fight otherwise. There will always be, American elites and stuff wanting to undermine what the Belgians and the French and the Dutch taking care of their people, and not turning into a capitalist dystopia like America. Even if your own country's elites don't do it, foreign ones will. Um, you know, sometimes it's your own countries, like in Sweden, where they have turned on social democracy and are trying to destroy it. Okay, Turkey is under attack, and now is my faction. Now, I don't think they can hold the line here. I need... Turkey was guaranteed by the British, though, which means the British should now be at war with, I mean, they're already at war. Did they not? They were guaranteeing, oh yeah, they were guaranteeing the Soviets, weren't they? Shit, they were guaranteeing each other, so they allowed the Soviets. If you have mutual guarantees like that. The British did not go to war with the Soviet Union. Shoot, I'll just have to wait till they're focused. But, yeah, the Turks aren't going to be able to hold that. I need Austria or somebody to join this war, which, if they'll guarantee one of these little countries like Iran or something, I'll bring them in so that I can redeploy divisions to the front. Alright. Could deploy divisions green, but I don't really have the surplus artillery or support equipment. These divisions are very heavy on artillery and support equipment. To be wasting it on exercises for divisions I could have gone up to trained and then start exercises. Take longer, but what is Latvia doing, out of curiosity? Oh yeah, still this. How are they holding? Oh, they've already lost a province. They're screwed. They're definitely screwed. They have an artillery division? 3 infantry, 3 artillery, and support artillery. I mean, if they had the industry for that, but they don't. They should have been throwing manpower. They don't have the manpower to do something more manpower intensive either. They're scraping the barrel now, but they weren't before. Must have just up to this the moment the war broke out, and they're probably extensive conscription before. Nope, they limited, because you can't even get to extensive when you're non-aligned, unless you're at war. Let's see, 63,000 if they were at service by requirement. 30, yeah, they were at limit conscription. Now they just went all the way scraping the barrel, which is dumb. Doesn't get manpower mobilizing fast enough. They just increment to extensive and doesn't save political power. All they've done is handicap their industry, but the AI is dumb. It always has been. Latvia is doomed, especially with that mistake. They won't even be able to keep their divisions supplied and scraping the barrel at current tech levels. I say current tech levels because these techs directly counteract the effect of raising conscription laws. So when you have the final tech level, you can, if you have also some modifiers that increase factory output, you can be scraping the barrel without it eating up too much of your industry. I mean, it'll still eat a lot, but a manageable proportion. Whereas it would be like if you did it in 1936, you would destroy your economy. Let's see. Should be able to see the effects of this, right? Minus 40% factory output. May not be so bad. They probably have at least 45% from tech. But yeah, they might be eating 30% of their industry, 20% with that. It's not helping. 29. Not talking added modifiers, we're talking relative to their total. I see a red. Oh, that's the Balkans trying to push to take this state again they control in the past. Yeah, they're not going to manage anything. No, not with Czech tanks there. They probably can't even pierce. Oh, they can pierce the tanks, interestingly. They have artillery, anti-air, and anti-tank guns, okay. Renamed it the Swedish-French War? What? Oh. The US and Austria have both guaranteeing the independence of Iran. That will definitely result in the United States joining the Danubian Federation. Because that won't stop the Soviets from invading Iran. I can't go to this path anymore. They've been smart, and instead of running this focus, they actually could have gotten a non-aggression pact with the Soviets easily in time to delay being attacked by at least a year. What they'll do is they'll bypass joint access and increase German military aid, which will give me 2 civilian factories in Brandenburg if I'm not already at my cap. Can actually divert to other states if they are, and give them some military factories, and then well, I guess if they get mail, they might support a coup or invade Iraq, although it would be a fascist coup. Doesn't seem to recognize them communist. And they'll or they might go this long winter route. Surprised it would try and, oh, not yet at 25 in Brandenburg. It will be someday, once I reach the highest industry tech and do regional industrial integration, but yeah. Or actually I wouldn't do regional industrial integration because they should be able to do a public works project. I did off camera in a super safe, see what happens, or an earlier load up, and just quickly ran that the public works give you have to control whole slices of Germany to use them efficiently, but you take a decision, it costs public power, and it gives you a build slot in like this whole area or this whole area. It's like a whole, like 6 states, but not if they're controlled by puppets, only if you directly control the state. So someday after I reintegrate all this, I'll do a public works project, and that'll get me a 25th build slot in Brandenburg. Or I would have, but it looks like the Turks are going to give me 2 build slots, making that not useful here, at least. I might still do it for factories here and stuff. Build slots, not in factories. It's probably a response to the recognition that German players complaining around on build slots. If you're going communist Germany or democratic or non-aligned, you're taking a slower path where you can't just conquer area space to expand your industry elsewhere as easily. Your first German Civil War will definitely weaken your military, and if you do a second, it'll get worse. Right. Well, this has been going on for a bit. It doesn't hurt to cut this before I lock into that focus. That is where I can't get all the political power back in case I change my mind. So the most likely thing would be not running no focus at all for a little bit to get my intelligence agency quicker, and everything else uses political power if I decide for some reason. I doubt it, but there could be something I might look and say, no, actually I want that. I doubt it, but before I get this, but it doesn't hurt to save is what I'm saying, and cut the video in like a second. I think I almost have enough naval bombers to start sending them off to the Baltic to hit the subs whenever they raid stuff. 26. Yeah, that's close to where I would say Never mind dilution of experience. Missed opportunities to sink subs. Of course, those subs will be mine once I defeat the Poles and Dutch. I'll need to grab a navy from the AIs. I don't have enough time to rebuild my navy before I end up at war with the Americans. Once the Austrians bring them in their faction, that'll mean the Americans will join them in an offensive war against me, most likely. Might not do against any other nation, but FDR dislikes Germany, which means they'll probably say yes to join the war. And the Austrians attack me. Unless I can knock the Austrians out so quickly after they attack me that the Americans can't join the war. Even though they're in a faction, I think that still causes the Austrians to surrender if their ally hasn't yet joined the war. Otherwise, like my civil war with Germany wouldn't have ended with the Finnish if they weren't in the war, which they weren't. Okay. Enough's enough. I did not quite make 2 more weeks slower than last time. I need to keep pushing, progressing, but I'm tired today. I got other videos to record, so I wish you all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. Look out for people in difficult situations, friends, family. Help them out whatever you can. Don't beat yourselves up if you can't. Take a look at my other videos, by the way. I got a Wildermyth Let's Play series I'm probably work on a little today, and I wish you all the best. May you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Adieu until next time.